Hello, it's a Tuesday morning and you're watching News on the Hour on DD India and I'm Preeti. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you through everything that's making to the headlines. We'll get you, make sure that you keep yourself abreast with all the aspects of the news items that are making it to the headlines. When we talk of the show ahead, we'll get to the details of Maitri Setu, which will be inaugurated by Prime Minister, and it will run between India and Bangladesh. We'll get you details on that. Also, we'll get you an update on the progress of the vaccination drive in the country. Added to that, we'll get you international updates. We'll get you updates from the world of business and sports, enough to keep you engaged and glued for the next 1 hour. First, we'll get you the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Maitri Setu between India and Bangladesh today. With this, Tripura is set to become the gateway of Northeast with access to Chittagong port of Bangladesh. Prime Minister also to inaugurate and lay foundation stone of multiple infrastructure projects in Tripura. India crosses 2.3 crore COVID-19 vaccination mark. Nearly 17 lakh vaccine doses given yesterday, highest in a single day till now. United Kingdom reiterates that agricultural reform laws are a domestic matter of India, adds that security forces in a democracy have the right to enforce law and order. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate. Added to that, when we talk of US relaxing COVID norms, it has conveyed that people can meet in small groups with other vaccinated people without wearing masks, but should keep wearing them outside their homes. Juventus and FC Porto will clash again in the second leg of last 16 of UEFA Champions League at Allianz Stadium today. Alright, those were the top stories. We'll get to the news in detail. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate Maitri Setu between India and Bangladesh today via video conferencing. Prime Minister will also inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple infrastructure projects in Tripura during the event. The bridge, Maitri Setu, has been built over Feni River, which flows between Indian boundary in Tripura state and Bangladesh. The name Maitri Setu symbolizes growing bilateral relations and friendly ties between India and Bangladesh. The 1.9 kilometers long bridge joins Sabroom in India with Ramgarh in Bangladesh. It is poised to herald a new chapter of trade and people-to-people movement between India and Bangladesh. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone for setting up an integrated check post at Sabroom. He will also lay the foundation stone of NH 208 connecting Unakoti district headquarters in Kaila Shahar with Khowai district headquarters. Prime Minister will also inaugurate state highways and other district roads developed by the state government. He will be inaugurating 40,978 houses constructed under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and he will also inaugurate the integrated command and control center built under Agartala Smart City Mission. Further, Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone for development of multi-level car parking and commercial complex at Old Motor Stand. He will also lay foundation stone for widening of the existing road from Lichu Bagan to the airport from 2 lanes to 4 lanes now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also release 11 volumes of manuscripts with commentaries by 21 scholars on the shlokas of Srimad Bhagavad Gita today. In general, the practice with Srimad Bhagavad Gita is to present the text with a single commentary. For the first time, many of the key commentaries by celebrated Indian scholars are being brought together for achieving a comprehensive and comparative appreciation of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The manuscript, published by Dharmath Trust, is written with extraordinary variety and nuance of Indian calligraphy ranging from Shankar Bhasha to Bhasanuvada. Also, Dr. Karan Singh is the chairman trustee of Dharmath Trust, Jammu and Kashmir. To get us more on that, our correspondent Amrit Pal is joining us. Amrit, we've given a broad outline of the programs the Prime Minister is to have today. Let's begin with Maitri Setu. It will be built over Feni River and it will be, connecting Tripura to Bangladesh. Spell out more details on it. How far will it be a milestone for the region as well? And how far will it also further cement the ties between the two countries?
As you said, Preeti, it's a 1.9 kilometer long bridge over the Feni River, which flows from the Tripura boundary into Bangladesh. Now, this bridge will connect Sabroom on the Indian side to Ramgarh on the Bangladesh side. Maitri Setu, as the word itself means a bridge of friendship, symbolizes the motive behind this bridge to promote friendship, to enhance the already existing friendly ties between India and Bangladesh. The objective of the bridge is to facilitate the movement of goods, of passengers, people-to-people contacts, enhancing trade. From Sabroom, the Chittagong port, which is a major port of Bangladesh, is just about 80 kilometers away. So in that sense, this bridge will prove to be a gateway of the goods produced by Northeast India, not just into Bangladesh, but being shipped further around the world through the Chittagong port. Of course, it will facilitate movement of people. As you know, along boundaries, people have relatives on both sides. It will enhance movement of goods and people. The Prime Minister, after inaugurating this bridge through a video conference at 12 this noon, will also subsequently inaugurate lay the foundation stone of the integrated check post at Sabroom. Now, this ICP, because it's an international border, will go enhance movement of trade, goods. The custom activities can take place there, which you need clearance now in a roundabout fashion, which increase the cost of the goods. So trade gets hampered. So I think the Prime Minister's these initiatives that he inaugurates today will go a long way in not just cementing the friendly ties between the two countries, the people-to-people contact, but also enhance trade movement.
All right, that will enhance trade movement and further cement the ties between the two countries. Amrit, also, we tell our viewers that a number of other development and infrastructure projects are to be inaugurated by the Prime Minister. Spell out more on that also, and how far, will it help, development of infrastructure in the region?
Tripura, as you know, is a small state. Connectivity is a big issue there. The Prime Minister inaugurates a slew of national highway and state highway projects today, which will, of course, the roads increase trade, it increases movement of people, it makes life easier for people. So in that sense, it's a developmental initiative. It entails employment, it entails more trade. So the slew of projects that he announces when it comes to highways. The other major project that he is going to inaugurate is the houses that under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban. So these houses, building houses for the poor, is a major initiative of the government, of this government. So that will lead to making life easier and providing the objective of, will be a step into reaching the objective of housing for all. So in that sense, the national highway roundabout which connects Kailash Shahar with the Khawai district is also going to be inaugurated. That will cut the distance by about 80 kilometers, so facilitating movement of people. So these are the slew of projects that the Prime Minister inaugurates today.
All right, Amrit, thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. That was our correspondent, Amritpal Singh, telling us more about the engagements of the Prime Minister today. We will keep you updated. The Prime Minister will be inaugurating Maitri Setu at noon today. We'll keep you updated. Up next, very quickly, let's get you the update on the COVID numbers coming in from across the country. Now, as per the data put forth by the Union Health Ministry, 16,596 recoveries were recorded in the last 24 hours, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 1,899,394. With this, the recovery rate currently stands at 96.93%. India's total active caseload stands at over 1.87 lakh today. The country's present active caseload consists of 1.67% of the total positive cases. The fatality rate stands at 1.4%. And over 2.3 crore COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered so far. Nearly 17 lakh vaccine doses were given yesterday, which was the highest in a single day till now. After an initially lukewarm response, the vaccine drive in the country saw an upward trend with a four-fold increase after the inoculation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The data compiled by Bloomberg and Johns Hopkins University showed that COVID-19 vaccination drive jumped nearly four-fold after the country opened it up to more people and got a crucial public endorsement from the inoculation of Prime Minister Modi. Meanwhile, Maharashtra, Kerala, Punjab, Karnataka, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu have been reporting a surge in the COVID daily new cases. Recently, the centre rushed high-level public health teams to Maharashtra and Punjab to assist in COVID-19 control and containment measures in view of the recent spike in cases in these states. The central government has already deputed high-level teams to Maharashtra, Kerala, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and Jammu and Kashmir to support them in their fight against the recent spike in COVID-19 cases. Over 7.4 lakh samples were tested for COVID-19 yesterday, taking the total number of samples tested so far to over 22 crore. Now, this was informed by Indian Council of Medical Research. Caring for India's Caribbean friends, Made in India vaccines have arrived in Jamaica. Also contributing to Central America's fight against COVID, Belize received Made in India vaccines. And further, from the Himalayas to the Pamirs, Made in India vaccines also were delivered to Tajikistan. India continues to lead in assisting the countries under its Vaccine Maitri initiative amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the initiative, India has been providing COVID vaccines to its neighboring countries. Meanwhile, CBI yesterday started process of conducting COVID-19 vaccination of its officers and staff. In-charge Director of CBI, Praveen Sinha, along with senior officers and other officials of CBI headquarters, took the jab on the first day of the process. Further, the vaccination will be conducted on different days. CBI offices in various states and union territories have also been advised to get the vaccination of officers and staff members done in coordination with local authorities. It may be noted that CBI continued to discharge its duties efficiently despite the COVID-19 pandemic. And up next, we're heading for a short commercial break. You're watching News on the Hour. Stay with us. We'll be back in a short while.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Indu ni hao.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes land.
نحن هنود.
Kita India.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
Mung Hindian Youth.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching News on the Hour, and now let's get to international updates. First, we begin with the Myanmar situation. Hundreds of protesters who had been trapped by security forces in a district of Yangon overnight have been able to get out. The protesters were released after calls from Western powers and the United Nations for them to be allowed to leave. Thousands of people defied a nighttime curfew to take to the streets of Myanmar's main city in support of the youth in Sanchuang district, where they had been holding a daily protest against the February 1 coup. Myanmar police had on Monday been raiding houses in the area looking for people who were from outside the district. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for maximum restraint and also the safe release of all protesters without violence or arrest, a call echoed by the US and British embassies in Myanmar. Demonstrations have been held daily for more than a month now to demand the release of Suu Kyi and respect for the election of her National League for Democracy party that won the election last November. The United Kingdom has reiterated that agricultural reform laws are a domestic matter of India and that security forces in a democracy have the right to enforce law and order. UK Minister of State for Asia, Nigel Adams, during a debate in Parliament said that the agricultural policy is a domestic matter for the Indian government. He further said that the United Kingdom government firmly believes that freedom of speech and the right for peaceful protest are vital to any democracy, but we also accept that if a protest crosses the line into illegality, security forces in a democracy have the right to enforce law and order. Adams was responding in a debate held on the issue of peaceful protests and press freedoms in India on Monday. U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price said on Monday that the Houthis must demonstrate willingness to engage in a political process to achieve peace in Yemen after the group claimed responsibility for drone and missile attacks on Saudi Arabia. The White House also expressed alarm at genuine security threats to Saudi Arabia from Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis and elsewhere in the region after attacks on the heart of the Saudi oil ministry, and said that it would look at improving support for Saudi defenses. The Houthis have been battling Saudi-led coalition in Yemen for 6 years in a conflict largely regarded as a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran.
The egregious Houthi drone and missile attack against Saudi Aramco's facilities in Dhahran and Ras Tur Noura and other civilian sites, including Hamis Mushat and in Jeddah. These attacks are unacceptable. They are dangerous. They put the lives of civilians at risk. Attacks like these are not the actions of a group that is serious about peace. We call on all parties to seriously commit to a ceasefire, to engage in negotiations under UN auspices in conjunction with our Special Envoy Tim Linderking, who in turn is working closely with the UN's envoy Martin Griffiths.
Brazilian Supreme Court has annulled the criminal convictions against former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, restoring his right to seek the presidency again. The court ruled that former president should never have been prosecuted in a local court in the southern city of Curitiba. The former president could still face charges if prosecutors in the capital, Brasilia, decide to take on some of the vacated cases. Da Silva faces 3 other corruption cases in Brasilia, which have not yet reached a verdict. Da Silva, widely known as Lula in Brazil, was sentenced to 12 years in prison. He was released from prison in late 2019 but could not run for office due to his criminal record. With his political rights now restored, the former president is widely expected to run against Bolsonaro in next year's presidential election. Women across Mexico geared up for marches to mark International Women's Day yesterday, driven by anger that President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has backed a politician accused of rape at a time when the country is suffering rampant gender violence. Activists in recent days have displayed a purple banner declaring no abuser in power across Mexico City's main plaza, renamed streets with women's names, pasted over signs and used purple, green and pink on social media avatars. Protesters painted names of hundreds of femicide victims across 10-foot-tall metal barriers that were erected last week to protect the historic building from vandalism during the marches. Thousands of women flocked to the streets a year ago to demand tougher government response against femicides, with some demonstrators chucking Molotov cocktails at National Palace and vandalizing buildings in what were otherwise peaceful protests. The death toll from a series of explosions at military barracks in Equatorial Guinea has soared to 98. Over 600 people were injured in the blast on Sunday, which started with a fire at a military base in the coastal city of Bata. Equatorial Guinea president has attributed the accident to negligence related to the handling of dynamite and said that explosions damaged almost all homes and buildings in Bata. The explosions come as former Spanish colony suffers a double economic shock caused by global health crisis and a drop in the price of crude oil, which accounts for around 3/4 of state revenues. In Colombia, according to Environment Minister, the South American country is targeting a 30% reduction in deforestation during President Ivan Duque's term, which ends in August 2022. The target, less ambitious than the one previously floated by himself, is meant to stem tree felling in Colombia, including in its Amazon. Rainforests, in particular the Amazon, absorb vast amounts of carbon dioxide, and scientists say that their protection is vital to curbing climate change. Korea hopes that the 30% cut to deforestation can be exceeded, and a 50% target floated last year by Duke is still on the table. Colombia lost more than 1 lakh hectares of forests in 2019, down by 19% on the 2018 levels. The Colombian Environment Minister also said that he would not give any estimates on 2020 deforestation levels, although he said that increases were recorded in the first quarter of last year before subsequently falling. Ahead of the trial of the police officer accused of killing George Floyd, Floyd's sister made an emotional plea for justice. Jury selection in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin for the death of Floyd was delayed until at least Tuesday morning. The delay came as the judge awaits an appeals court decision on whether a new murder charge can be added. Chauvin is accused of second-degree unintentional murder and manslaughter in the 25th May death case of George Floyd. The maximum sentence he faces is 40 years.
That officer took a great man, a great father, a great brother, a great uncle, and a great father. He really took a great father. He was so family oriented. He loved his family. He loved his daughter. Gianna meant the world to him. And we would never get that back. I want you guys to continue to pray for our family because we need it. We need it.
Up next, we take a look at the update on COVID-19 situation from across the world. So far, 11 crore 77 lakh people have contracted COVID-19 globally, while the tally of recoveries stands stands over 9 crore 33 lakh. COVID-19 has claimed 26 lakh 11,000 lives worldwide. The US continues to remain worst affected from COVID-19, where more than 2 crore 97 lakh cases of COVID-19 have been quoted. The country's fatalities have crossed 5 lakh 38,000. US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released new guidelines for people fully vaccinated against COVID-19. According to the new guidelines, fully vaccinated people can safely visit with other vaccinated people and small groups of unvaccinated people in some circumstances, but there are still important safety precautions needed. The CDC advised fully vaccinated people that they should continue with many precautions such as avoiding medium and large-sized in-person gatherings, wearing masks when visiting any unvaccinated people from multiple households, or wearing masks when with people who are at risk for severe COVID-19. The recommendations came as about 30 million people have been fully inoculated with COVID-19 vaccines in the US, and over 58 million adults had received at least one dose of the vaccine.
CDC's new guidance also recommends that fully vaccinated people do not need quarantine or get tested following a known exposure to someone with COVID-19 as long as they are asymptomatic. At this time, the CDC is not adjusting current guidance on travel. We believe these new recommendations are an important first step in our efforts to resume everyday activities in our communities. However, we remain in the midst of a serious pandemic, and still over 90% of our population is not fully vaccinated, though we are working hard to get there. Therefore, everyone, whether vaccinated or not, should continue to avoid medium and large-sized gatherings, as well as non-essential travel, and when in public spaces, should continue to wear a well-fitted mask, physically distance, and follow other public health measures to protect themselves as others.
The U.S. House of Representatives Speaker said that the House will take up the Senate version of the sweeping $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package by Wednesday. The Senate passed its version of the bill after a marathon overnight vote on Saturday. The Senate version eliminated or pared back some provisions included in the House bill, which had increased the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour and extended the expanded jobless assistance through August 29. Now that it has passed the Senate, it must be approved again by the House before it can make its way to Biden's desk and be signed into law. Brazil's government has pressed Pfizer Inc. for early delivery of COVID-19 vaccines as a deadly second wave of the cases adds urgency to the vaccine rollout. President Jair Bolsonaro personally took part in a video call with executives at Pfizer, reaching a spoken agreement to buy their vaccine. Although Brazil has still not signed a contract with Pfizer, the company had agreed to start delivering 14 million doses by June, up from 9 million in its prior offer. Following those early deliveries, Pfizer agreed to ship at least 10 million more doses per month. Peru has begun the massive task of vaccinating its millions of residents over 60 years of age against COVID-19. The first person to be inoculated was 104-year-old Maria Araya. Older nuns were also inoculated at a convent with the Pfizer vaccine. Peru last week received 50,000 doses and plans to receive them weekly until completing 250,000 doses until March. Peru has reported 47,854 deaths and 13,71,176 cases of COVID-19. Netherlands extended evening curfew till March 30th. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte told media that evenings must remain in place till the end of this month due to the continuing high number of new cases. However, exceptions will be made to ensure national elections on March 15 to 17 proceed as planned. He further said that restaurants and bars might be allowed to start serving customers on outdoor terraces by next month if the infection rate drops in the coming 3 weeks. Bars and restaurants in Netherlands have been closed since mid-October, along with other public places such as museums, libraries, gyms and cinemas. COVID-19 infections in Netherlands have stabilized in the past week, following a modest rise in February attributed by health authorities, in part to the new variants of the virus becoming more prevalent. The World Health Organization's top emergency expert, Maitri Setu, has said that some countries should have listened more carefully when the World Health Body declared a global health emergency in January 2020. Asked if the organization should have used the term pandemic sooner, Setu said maybe we needed to shout louder, but maybe some people need hearing aids. The WHO declared a public health emergency of international concern, its highest level of alarm, on January 30th, and described the COVID-19 virus as a pandemic for the first time on March 11th.
The fact that countries, I can fully understand maybe from a media perspective that a member of the public and others might not necessarily react to the declaration of a global public health emergency under the IHR by the Director General. But that is an agreement between all member states on this planet who agreed in law that this would represent the trigger to collective action in response for containment. So I think we have to ask ourselves, yes, maybe we need to shout louder, but maybe some people need hearing aids.
Setu also said the WHO would not recommend the use of vaccine certificates as a requirement for travel, as access to vaccine was still limited and not equitable worldwide. Commenting on the use of vaccine passports, he said that they could cause unfairness to be further branded into the system.
I think there are real practical and ethical considerations as well that countries will have to address, because if access to vaccine is inequitous, then inequity and unfairness can be further branded into the system if we continue to make decisions on what people can and can't do, where they can and can't go, on the basis of being vaccinated.
Israel's Al Al Airlines launched a pilot program at its Tel Aviv airport check-in counters yesterday to test unvaccinated passengers for COVID-19 before allowing them to board a non-stop flight to New York. Airlines have for months been lobbying governments for such measures to prevent people from having to go into quarantine on arrival. With some 40% of Israelis over the age of 16 already fully vaccinated after their second dose of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, most of those tested at the airport were children who, under current health guidelines, are not given the shots. The aim of the test is to ensure that no one on the plane carried the virus or could infect others. Although masks are still mandatory for duration of the 12-hour flight. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has had his first COVID-19 vaccine shot as part of a bid to boost public confidence in the inoculation campaign. The president also called on Nigerian citizens to get vaccinated and protect themselves against the virus. The African nation launched its inoculation campaign on 5th of this month, and frontline health workers were first to receive the vaccine shots. Nigeria received its first shipment of COVID-19 vaccines via the World Health Organization-led COVAX facility earlier this month. Nigeria hopes to vaccinate 80 million of its 200 million population this year. Indonesia has approved AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use. Indonesia has received 1.1 million doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine through the COVAX facility, a multilateral effort seeking to ensure equitable global access to COVID-19 vaccination. Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi said that Indonesia will get about 11.7 million doses of AstraZeneca's vaccine through COVAX, which will come in stages through May. The Southeast Asian nation has reported one of the worst COVID-19 caseloads in Asia. It launched a vaccination drive in January, aiming to inoculate some 181 million people within a year. Up next, you're watching News on the Hour, and we'll be heading for a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll get to you updates from the world of business and sports. Stay with us.
A global pandemic that's causing havoc worldwide. Search for an effective vaccine is on. Until then, the only option is caution and prevention. Now that the country has opened up under Unlock 5, it's all the more critical that we don't let our guard down. Face mask has been found to be the most effective means to fight the spread of COVID-19. World Health Organization and various researchers have also found that masks are critical in mitigating the spread of COVID-19. When you wear a mask, you protect yourself and people around you. Wearing a face mask helps prevent the spread of COVID-19, but only if worn properly.
बिना मास्क या फेस कवर के घर से बाहर निकलने की अभी कल्पना करना भी सही नहीं है.
Be a part of DD India campaign. Mask Up India. Come and join our initiative to fight COVID-19. Share your stories of masking up with us on Facebook and Twitter.
Mask Up India.
It's a simple task. Just wear a mask.
Mask Up India.
Mask Up India.
Mask Up India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching News on the Hour. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. Indian indices were trading higher today, tracking gains in the Asian stocks, which were higher, helped mostly by global recovery prospects and the passage of a $1.9 trillion US stimulus bill. Domestically, all sectors witnessed broad-based buying in banks, financial and metals, supporting the indices the most. At 10:30 a.m., the BSE Sensex was quoted at 50,829.55, up by 388.48 points or 0.77%. NSE Nifty was trading at 15,069, up by 112.8 points or 0.75%. Asian equity markets were largely mixed, tracking a mixed Wall Street session. Japan's Nikkei 225 added 0.32% and Hong Kong Hang Seng Index fell 0.52%. Korea's Kospi was down 1.1% and US Treasury yields advanced as investors continue to price in high inflation and more upbeat prospects for the US economy as it emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic. The benchmark US 10-year yield rose to 1.6029% from 1.594% late on Monday. To get us more on that, our correspondent Shama Mishra is joining us. Shama, Indian indices were trading higher today, and also they were helped by global recovery prospects and also the passage of the US stimulus bill. Spell out more details. How can we expect trading to be through the day, and also which were the sectors which led to the stocks trading higher?
When the entire bill, 1.9 trillion bill, was approved by the Senate, we did see that the US markets were trading in red because of the fact that there will be more pressure on the treasury now. But then they started recovering, and that is why the other markets, Asian markets and European markets, have also started mirroring that, and that is why they are also showing a mixed bag, we could say that. Tracking the global cues, our Indian markets have also doing good, and earlier it was expected by the market experts that either it will be flat, it will open flat, or it will go into the negative zone, but it definitely doesn't happen. It has not happened that, and going through the day also, it is expected that the markets will continue, even in the Nifty and both Sensex, they would be doing trading in the green zone. And also we are seeing that the Indian sides also, domestic factors are also there. Talking to the market experts, they've mentioned that an expectation of a higher a higher GST collection is there in their minds, and that is why the March collection, they are expecting that that GST collection would be good. Apart from that, everyday announcements by the government have also helped our Indian markets to trade in the green zone. PLI schemes, also disinvestment, banking sectors. So that is why if you see the sectors like the bank, these sectors, the bank sector, PSU banks and all the banks are doing pretty good right now. HDFC and other than that, ICICI, the PSU banks are also doing pretty good right now. But the technology, the IT sector was not doing that great, but it is expected that they would be also back on track. But yes, going forward, we are seeing that going forward, markets will take cues from both domestic and global to help them achieve. Currently the Nifty is trading into that zone of 15,300, but that is expected to breach, and then it is expected that the markets would stabilize going further.
The markets would stabilize going further, Shama, you tell us, but would you say that this would also spill over to the Asian markets, which were largely trading mixed, tracking a mixed Wall Street session, as you also put across? And also we've told our viewers also how Japan's index and Hong Kong's index were falling, and also Korea's Kospi index also fell by 1.1%.
Well, yes, going forward, we always see that, all markets mirror each other, and that is why there was recovery in the US markets, and that is why this mixed mirroring happened in the Asian markets. However, if you see the European markets, they are doing all good. They are doing in the green. They're trading in the green zone, and it is expected that the Asian markets also would soon stabilize, would soon recover, because there, if you see, there is a mixed bag. And going forward, if we see that more, international cues and even in domestic cues, where their own markets would be affected by their country's decision, by the government's decision, then it is expected that they could be trading in the green zone. Otherwise, it is likely to continue for today.
All right, Shama, thank you so much for joining us with those details. That was our correspondent Shama spelling out more details on the current activity in the markets. We'll keep you updated. Let's get to other updates also. The centre is firm on its decision to go ahead with its move to privatize the Visakhapatnam steel plant. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said this in a written reply to Lok Sabha yesterday. The Finance Minister had replied to a question by YSR-CP MPs G. Madhavi and MVV Satyanarayan. She further said that the centre had already consulted the state government in this matter and has solicited their support. She said that the state government did not have any equity in the RINL. Sitharaman asserted that strategic disinvestment of Government of India's equity will lead to infusion of capital for optimum utilization, expansion of capacity, infusion of technology, and also better management practices. This will result in higher production and productivity, and will also result in expansion of direct and indirect employment opportunities. The government yesterday informed Parliament that it has realized the payment of 53,346 crore rupees to Direct Tax Dispute Resolution Scheme Vivad Se Vishwas till 1st of March 2021. Replying to a query in Lok Sabha, Minister of State for Finance Anurag Singh Thakur said that the government has been able to achieve the objective of settling income tax cases after launching Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. The minister said over 1.28 lakh declarations have been filed under the scheme involving a disputed tax of 98,328 crore rupees. And out of this, the government has received 53,346 crore rupees as payments against disputed tax. The RBI has said that loans classified as fraud should not be sold to the proposed National Asset Reconstruction Company to be set up by public sector banks. This would mean that a big chunk of sticky loans would continue to remain on the books of banks. Nearly rupees 1.9 lakh crore of bank loans had been classified as fraudulent as of March 2020, according to RBI's annual report. Although the sanctions pertain to earlier years, half of these loans were classified as frauds in financial year 20 itself. Public sector banks account for 80% of these fraudulent loans. Up next, we'll get to sports news now. Juventus and FC Porto will again clash in the second leg of the last 16 of UEFA Champions League at Allianz Stadium today. Juventus must overturn a first leg defeat to avoid a shocking exit at the hands of Porto in the Champions League. On the other hand, Porto is ready to repeat history. Fans are expecting the match to be a cracker as the two teams cross swords. The last time Porto won away from home in the Champions League knockout stages was the year they won the competition, that is in 2002-2003. It would be a good time to end this drought. And further, in another match of the second leg of last 16, Borussia Dortmund will take on Sevilla. Both the teams have struggled in recent weeks and have a point to prove going into this game. The first leg between the two teams saw Sevilla take an early lead. Borussia Dortmund staged a stunning comeback, however, and also came back with a 3-2 victory. Sevilla have lost 4 out of their last 5 games in all competitions and will have to play out of their skins this week. Borussia Dortmund are in better shape at the moment and should be able to win this game. Now, according to the International Olympic Committee, a decision on whether international spectators will be allowed to attend the Tokyo Olympics Games this summer will be taken by end of March. Most Japanese do not want international visitors to attend the Games, which are due to open in July, amidst fears that a large influx of visitors could spark a resurgence of the novel coronavirus infections. A Yomiuri newspaper poll showed. Now, the survey showed 77% of respondents were against allowing foreign fans to attend versus 18% in favor. Tokyo 2020 President Siko Hashimoto has said that she wants a decision on whether to let in overseas spectators before the start of the torch relay on March 25th. The Olympics, postponed by a year due to COVID-19 pandemic, are scheduled for July 23rd till August 8th and the Paralympics from August 24th to September 5th. An Indian men's hockey team ended their tour of Europe with a splendid 3-2 win against Great Britain yesterday. Harmanpreet Singh's goal in the very first minute and 2 goals by Mandeep Singh in the 28th and 59th minute helped India remain undefeated in the tour. For Great Britain, James Gaul and striker Adam Fawcett scored. In the previous match, India's Simranjeet Singh had scored a late goal to hold Great Britain to a 1-each draw, and also against Germany, the PR Srijesh-led side had secured a 6-1 win in the first match and a 1-each draw in the second one. A day after India set up a World Test Championship final clash with New Zealand, India head coach Ravi Shastri has criticized the International Cricket Council's decision to make qualification for the championship final a percentage-based system.
Please don't shift the goalposts midstream. Okay, I'm sitting at home in COVID, right, in the month of November or October. You have got more points than any other team in the world. 360 at that time. Suddenly, a week later, without playing cricket, there's some rule that comes that they're going to go on percentage system, where you go from number 1 to number 3 in a week. What is the way forward for me? I have 2 toes left, sitting on top of the table comfortably by leading by 60-70 points, as opposed to any other team. They say, no, you have to go to Australia. I say, okay. What have you to do in Australia? You have to beat Australia. Yeah. Now, how many teams in 100 years or last 10 years have gone to Australia, you can say guarantee will beat Australia. If you don't beat Australia, you come back home and beat England 4-0, you get close to 500 points. You still don't qualify. We have had to go down every hole that's needed to find water. We found it, and we've earned our stripes to be in the final of the World Test Championship, the biggest trophy in the world.
And from here, let's get to other news. Let's talk of health now. Middle-aged adults begin to notice slight changes in their vision, which can progress over a time. Let's take a look at this report to know more about what vision problems can occur with growing age.
As the age increases, most people are concerned about the problems affecting their eyes. People with diseases like diabetes or hypertension need to be extra cautious because they have increased risk of eye problems.
As you approach 40 years, there are a high chances of many diseases which can affect your eyes. It depends on whether you have any systemic conditions like diabetes or hypertension, which may have an effect on retina. There can be sudden visual loss due to blood on the retina. Also, there are other diseases like cataract and glaucoma. Cataract usually causes gradual loss of vision, while in glaucoma it may cause a sudden loss as well as a gradual loss of vision. There is also an upcoming disease which is called age-related macular degeneration, which in advanced stages can cause blood on retina and can cause sudden loss of vision. If you have any sudden or gradual loss of vision, it may be for near or distance, or if there is any associated redness, pain in eye, severe watering, then it is always appropriate that you should consult an eye specialist.
It is important to identify the eye problems and get timely treatment. Ignoring the symptoms can affect the eyesight of the person.
After 40 years of age, usually the visual status of the patient is determined. Routine intraocular pressures are measured. Like there is a blood pressure in the body, similarly we have a pressure in the eye. So this is determined in the eye. This is an indicator of glaucoma. Then if there are any associated complaints like diabetes and hypertension, a routine retinal examination is done to rule out any changes which these diseases may have on the retina. If the patient is at high risk, it depends on the stage of the disease and whether these diseases have affected the retina. If it is an advanced stage, we may call the patient as frequently as 1 month or 3 months. But if it is not there as of now, but it has a tendency to develop in the coming years, we may be satisfied with annual examination.
Regular eye checkup may help in early detection of eye problem and prevent blindness. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
So that was the health tip of the day. Take care of your eyes. Up next, let's get you some other interesting updates. Russian hockey stars yesterday took part in a match on frozen lake Baikal to draw attention to ecological issues faced by UNESCO World Heritage Site. A match organized by the United Nations Environment Programme and former NHL player Fedosov was attended by famous hockey players such as Alexei Kasatonov, Valery Kamenetsky, Alexander Yakushev, Andrei Kovalenko. The event was also attended by British Ambassador to Russia, Deborah Bronert. Bronert had highlighted the need for international cooperation to overcome ecological problems. Now, according to UNESCO, which lists the sickle-shaped lake in Siberia, some 5,000 kilometers east of Moscow, as a World Heritage Site, is the world's oldest and deepest lake. Throughout the year, more than 60 events and infrastructure projects related to ecology, cultural and educational activities are to be held in the region with regard to deterioration of Lake Baikal. And Californian ladies mark the International Women's Day by surfing away pandemic blues on their bogey boards. Ranging between ages of 40 to 95, some of the women have been riding the surf together for more than 20 years. The boogie boarding group was founded by Fran Dyer and some of her friends after she moved to the area after retirement and wanted to make friends and stay active. Celebrated on March 8th, International Women's Day has been recognized since early 1900s to inspire women and acknowledge their contributions. A good way there to celebrate. 46 mushers and their teams of huskies dashed off into Alaska wilderness in a socially distanced start to the annual inaugurate trail sled dog race, embarking on a course drastically altered by the pandemic. The starting gate of the 2021 event was placed off limits to the usual crowds of cheering spectators, and few, if any, fans are expected along the shortened route for this year's 49th running of the world's most famous sled dog marathon. The staggered launch of the race began with a veteran Aaron Pack of Grande Prairie, Alberta, Canada, followed by rivals charging onto the trail one team at a time. On that adventurous note, we're ending news on the hour here. But before we go, we'll again leave you with some beautiful glimpses coming in from Geneva, where in this 129-year-old fountain called Jet d'Eau, this was lit in the colors of blue and pink to mark the International Women's Day yesterday. Take a look. Have a good day ahead. Bye-bye.